Did you know that it takes around 8 minutes for sunlight to reach us on Earth? So, if the sun went out, everything would go on as normal, at least for the first 8 minutes before the chaos started. It is thought that one of the biggest reasons why the dinosaurs went completely extinct is the lack of sunlight. Evidence suggests that when the meteor that wiped them out hit the Earth, the massive impact caused tons of dust and debris to settle into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun and starting an ice age. This event is a good example of what would happen if the sun went out. In today's video, we will discuss some of the effects of this devastating scenario. Stay tuned to find out what would happen to humans and other life on the planet if this nightmare became a reality. After the aforementioned 8 minutes, the Earth would be swept into the cold embrace of eternal darkness. People on the dark side of the planet probably wouldn't notice much of anything at first, but panic would probably ensue when the moon disappeared from the night sky as well. This is because the moon does not produce any light of its own. It reflects the light of the sun instead. So, if the sun disappeared, we probably wouldn't be able to see the moon at night either. We would also lose the ability to see other planets in our solar system that are visible at night. With no sun to illuminate these planets, our only source of light would be other distant stars in the sky. If you have ever owned an indoor plant, you must have noticed how where you place it has a massive impact on its overall health. When placed in a corner where there is no shade and not much sunlight is allowed to pass, it quickly begins to wilt and go lifeless. In contrast, if you place it where it gets adequate sunlight, the plant thrives with life and vibrancy. Now imagine if this happened on a global scale. If the sun disappeared, most plant life on Earth would struggle to survive for more than a few weeks at best. This is because every plant depends on light for nourishment and growth. Sunlight is responsible for triggering photosynthesis, the process which helps plants generate the oxygen that we humans and other animals need to survive. Without sunlight, this process would halt and would make living conditions on Earth unsustainable. If you have ever wondered why the ocean never overflows with rainfall, it is because the whole process which dictates how water flows on Earth is very delicately balanced. And as you may have guessed already, the sun plays a crucial role in preserving this balance. Statistically speaking, it's always raining somewhere in the world at any given moment. This means that rivers on the planet are always busy carrying this rainwater into the ocean. The reason why the ocean never overflows is that all the water in the world flows in a cycle. The warmth generated by the sun causes water to evaporate on the planet, and this includes the water in the ocean. This ensures that the level of water in the sea always remains constant. This evaporated water rises into the atmosphere until it hits colder air. Upon cooling down, it turns into tiny droplets and mixes with dust particles to form clouds. When these clouds become heavy with such droplets, they rain onto the surface and the whole process starts again. Without the sun, this cycle would break, and there would be drastic changes in how water behaves on the planet. The sun is a massive star. Its gravitational pull is what ensures Earth and other planets in the solar system are tethered to their orbital cycles. This ensures that our planet stays at the optimal distance from the sun and helps sustain life as we know it. If the sun disappeared, there would be nothing holding the planets in place, and the Earth would freefall into a spiral across the vastness of space. Instead of following the circular orbits, the planet would travel in a straight line at about 67,108 miles per hour. The risk of collision with other celestial bodies in our former solar system would increase, but would probably be unlikely. Earth would continue traveling in a straight line for eternity without ever coming into contact with another object. The sun does not heat the surface of the planet at an even rate. This is because of the difference in latitude. Air in some spots of the atmosphere may heat at an increased rate compared to others. Additionally, different layers of air also have substantial variations in temperatures. The pockets of warm air in the atmosphere act like a magnet and attract cold air towards it. This movement comes together to produce wind as we know it. The strength of these movements determines if we experience a light breeze or a terrifying storm. If the sun disappeared, this movement of air masses would not be possible and wind would cease to exist. The sun is also responsible for the variation in the strength of ocean winds. The heat generated by the sun warms up the air over land faster compared to air over the ocean. While the warmer air rises as it expands, the cold air fills up the newly opened spaces on the surface. This movement of air determines the strength of winds in the ocean. Life in the known universe is not common. Earth is a major outlier in an endless list of barren and desolate planets littered across the cosmos. There are many reasons for this, with perhaps one of the biggest ones being our distance from the sun. The planet is just the right distance from our star. Too close and the surface would scorch. Too far and temperatures become harsh for surface life. Currently, these factors come together to provide us with the perfect amount of warmth needed to sustain human, animal, and plant life. If the sun suddenly went out, life on the surface of the planet would become all but impossible. Most of the animals, plants, and even humans would perish within a few weeks at most due to the extreme drop in temperatures around the globe. Estimates suggest that the average surface temperature would drop up to 32 degrees Fahrenheit within just the first week. This consistent drop in temperature would continue and cause the air itself to freeze solid and drop down in sheets of colorful ice. Within a few years, even the surface of the ocean would freeze solid. The only ray of hope Earth would have for even a minor chance at going back to normal is if it traveled across the cosmos and was pulled into the orbit of a star similar to the Sun. As long as the planet avoided collision with other celestial bodies, it could reach Alpha Centauri in 43,000 years. Alpha Centauri is the nearest star to Earth after the Sun. Even if the planet eventually found itself in the new star's orbit, it is hard to speculate what the effects of this transition would be and if life on the surface could ever thrive again. Into the deep abyss of the frozen ocean, life on Earth would continue to survive and perhaps even thrive for billions of years. While every surface-dwelling creature, including humans, would be completely wiped out, anything that calls the depths of the ocean home would be fine. This is because these animals and organisms have never depended on the sun. Even today, they continue to survive in the depths without any light reaching them. The disappearance of humans from the planet may even benefit these animals, as our negative impact on the environment would halt. These animals live around geothermal vents found on the surface of the ocean and use the heat exerted from these openings as a source of energy instead. Since the core of the Earth would continue to exert some heat on its own, these animals have nothing to worry about in this scenario. These disastrous scenarios put into perspective just how important the sun is and how lucky we are that the perfect storm of circumstances came together and ensured human life could become possible. It must be mentioned, though, that this discussion is a fantasy scenario and you have nothing to be worried about. Scientists estimate that the sun will not die out for a few billion years yet, so we as humans have plenty of time to figure out an alternative when it does. Please give us a like if you enjoyed the video. Perhaps we will someday find another planet that is capable of sustaining life. Subscribe to our channel to get regular updates on any such exciting developments. Would you want to travel to this new Earth if we ever found it? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below.